I'm holding in my hands, for the video viewers, you can see this, but for audio viewers, a Galaxy Tab S8 Ultra. I love that Samsung makes these. So we've had Samsung tablets in the past. I've made videos about a couple of them, and they've had the Galaxy Tab S7. We've had a couple of them in the studio and made videos, but this is an Ultra for the first time. So they have a Tab S8, and they have a Tab S8 Plus. This is the Tab S8 Ultra. It is a 14.5, almost 15-inch screen.
I'm just going to hold up my Surface laptop next to it. It's
basically
smaller.
Basically imagine a laptop screen, but just a screen. So 15-inch laptop. It's about a 2.9K by 1.8K, so it's a decently high resolution, but there is a lot going on here that I'm curious what your thoughts are, because the gold standard in the tablet world is still the iPad, right?
Yeah.
And this is a $1,100 tablet, so it's competing with the highest end iPad, the iPad Pro, if you were to compare it to another tablet. This does a lot of things the iPad would never do. So I think it's worth at least pointing at some of those things.
Yeah, for
and
sure.
talking about them. Number one, it's huge, and it's 16 by 10, which is interesting. The iPad has always been a little closer to a square, not quite a square.
Okay.
But it is very obvious when you're holding it that this is meant to be in landscape. It doesn't really make sense to use it like this.
So you're holding like a clipboard.
Yeah, that's probably about the same aspect ratio. I mean, you could read a web page like this, but the way things are oriented, the way the notch at the top is in the top middle, and we'll talk about the notch, and the fingerprint reader is over here where your thumb would be. Boom.
Oh, okay.
So
this is just fingerprint reader.
Yeah,
also,
it's got it's optical. It's not ultrasonic, but like it's just made to be horizontal.
For sure.
So that's an interesting note.
Although the power and volume rocker feel like what it would be like if you were using it portrait.
That is true, but then they're all the way at the top, which is interesting.
I mean, if you were just blowing a phone up, this is about where they would be.
True.
They'd just be a lot bigger.
Yeah. And then the port is down at where the bottom would be too. So that's interesting.
Yeah.
But I still think this is a horizontal experience most of the time.
I agree.
Because this huge screen, what are you doing? Watching movies, gaming, watching any videos really.
Yeah. Potentially, multitasking on it as well.
Yeah. So that's number one. Number two is it's an OLED. And this is something I haven't seen in an iPad yet. So the iPad, mini LED, we hear about all these dimming zones, and that's all great. I think this looks better, even though it's a slightly lower pixel density, and I can kind of see a little bit of if I go.
I mean, it's a big enough screen.
Real
that's
close.
Your best chance at being. But if you're doing this, if you're like squinting an inch away,
look at the text. Doesn't that look kind of soft? It's a little bit to do with the resolution and a little bit of the.
I see what you're talking about.
The pixel layout. I don't know if it's pentile or what this matrix is, but it does look a little soft but you look how close you are to it to see that.
Yeah, exactly. Like if you're just looking at this anything, you're like, that's a beautiful screen.
Yeah. So it's a huge OLED, and this is the biggest touchscreen OLED. I think I want to confirm that, but I think it's the biggest touchscreen OLED I've ever used, because we get the OLED TVs, but then we have lots of like mini LED laptops, mini LED iPads. This is a 15-inch OLED, and it looks great. Gets up to about 400 nits, a little bit dimmer than the max brightness I would have liked to have seen, but that's the downside of OLED, is it doesn't get super bright, but great looking screen. So I definitely want to point that out. Expandable storage, that's
great.
That's nice. Micro SD card right at the top there, that's cool. And then this pen is included for free. So
free.
It's an S Pen.
Free.
For free. Definitely not something Apple's doing right now with the $130 pencil. But here's the interesting thing. It attaches two ways. One, you can attach it by a magnet to the top right there.
Okay.
That
Seems
is like
reasonable.
It's reasonable. It doesn't charge there. So this is
Seems
like this is like the take the tablet off, or like I was using the pen for a little bit and then I just want to leave it there for a second while I see how hard it is. Okay. I just want to leave it there for a second while I do one or two other things and then grab it again. So that's like a short-term storage
Or if it's
thing.
like laying down flat and you're just sliding it right on top to keep it there.
So it's got that flat edge like the Apple Pencil. I gotta snap it into place. But the only place it actually charges is on the back, like that. And this is the same as the last year, where it's super easy to just scrape it off, or if you put it in a bag, if you don't have a case.
Can I see?
Yeah.
Why is the place it goes on specifically glossy? That's just supposed to show you where it goes, or because it's glass and can wirelessly charge through
Yeah,
that?
it can't be metal. So
Okay.
they just decided to do plastic or whatever
It
glass
feels
that
weird
is.
to have like a glossy place where the thing that's gonna like touch on it all the time and potentially scratch it up is
Yeah.
gonna just constantly keep going.
The iPad does like a matte plastic cutout. You can only do it facing one way,
It kind of does it, but you can tell it doesn't.
but it
want
doesn't
to.
charge. Yeah.
Oh, it doesn't charge.
Not very well. You have to
'Cause
line
it's
it up
probably
pretty
a very
well.
specific spot that
Yeah.
you have to.
Because when you do that, I see an
Satisfying.
animation. It's a nice click.
It's a nice click.
So that's one thing. I don't know if, the iPad kind of has the same problem where like you slap the Apple Pencil on the side and it could just fall off at any point. Here's Samsung's solution. This is half of their book keyboard case. There's an attachable keyboard. The other half is just like imagine a magnetic folio that slaps to the back that has a dent in it that just holds the pencil to the back of the tablet.
And essentially like has its own little flap so that you can open up for the pencil without taking the whole thing off of. It's like a little hidden compartment, except it's not hidden because it looks really obvious from the back.
Yeah, it's just a little bulge holding the pen in there.
Do you know who I think has done this the best? Microsoft. They have the keyboard that goes in the bottom, that's the front cover for it. And at the top of the keyboard, it just basically folds onto itself and creates its own little hinge and hides the pencil in there.
Right.
And then it doesn't feel like this huge bump on the back. It's just kind of like,
Well,
you almost don't notice it because when the keyboard's up, it just props it up a little tiny bit and then the pencil's hidden.
I do like that a lot. The problem with that is you can't use that without the keyboard thing.
Yeah, I guess they're assuming you're using the keyboard as like you're just plain cover. But if you don't want to bring your keyboard, then you've lost.
Yeah, I like that this accessory, you can use half of it.
True.
And you can use this little kickstand right here. And Dave made a video about this tablet already. We're working on our full video right now, but something he said in that video, which I thought was really interesting and very true, is a tablet this big, you aren't using it holding it most of the time. Like it's got this split keyboard that I keep using because I'm typing while holding it, but I actually found most of the time I use it, I've set it down somewhere. And I'm either watching something or I have a website pulled up, I've got whatever, Amazon, whatever videos. And so I just use the regular keyboard. And so I've got this little kickstand here and it just pops up like that. And then that's how I use it most of the time. I don't think I've taken my iPad out of the folio in years. Like it just sits constantly in that folio case.
No, I do like this little kickstand's nice because it's not adding a lot of bulk to the back of it.
Yeah.
But being
it's also the thinnest tablet I've ever seen.
Yeah.
So you can add like a thick case and it's
totally
fine.
Good hinge on this too for how thin it is.
Yeah. Now,
oh man, I keep slamming it on the desk.
it still has the optional keyboard accessory that I'll hold up for our video viewers here. It's got a trackpad, it's got some pins and some magnets, and it slaps on. This has the same problem that the Surface and the iPad Pro have, which is that the top is heavier than the bottom. So when you try to use it like a laptop, it's all flopping around because all of the weight, it's like top heavy basically. So you have to use the back. Yeah.
Oh, you have to use the stand.
You have to use the stand. So if I were to use this kind of like a regular laptop like this, there's no strength to this hinge at all.
Yeah,
it's just holding it.
You're almost so like because now you're putting it up a little higher, and the way the kickstand on the back of the folio works is it's only as long as the actual tablet is. When you bring it up, you almost have to be using this at like 120 degrees. You almost can't get it up at like 90. Yeah, because now the tab or the kickstand isn't tall enough and it's messing it up. Yeah. And it falls over.
Exactly. So it's kind of cool that you can have, the laptop setup is like a nice option. It's got DeX built in. There's a quick keyboard shortcut, switches it into DeX mode. It looks great. But yeah.
Biggest problem with this that I think a tablet needs to solve, and kind of the iPad Magic did it. What is it? The Magic Folio or whatever? What do they call it?
With the keyboard?
With the that like floated and was supposed to feel more. You can't put this on your lap. When this is on your lap, it can't stand up because it needs a hard surface behind it for the kickstand to support. Yeah. So because of this, which is how I use my laptop so often, is I can't just use it right in my lap, which is a pain. And I don't know how you'd solve that.
Do you use your laptop in your lap a lot?
When I'm using a laptop, yeah.
I guess it depends on the size of the machine. I hardly use my laptop in my actual lap anymore. I usually just carry it between tables and put it on a table.
I think there's times where I'll take it and I'd like to be watching TV and doing something quick on my laptop or something like that. And then I'd like to sit on my couch
Yeah.
and lean back rather than like
Or like put it on
being
the
all
couch
hunched
next to you.
over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It
I don't think this would
definitely-
do great on a couch next to you either. It'd be real floppy.
Yeah, that's the downside. But I guess we should talk about the notch. I'll just bring up the notch real quick. I think this notch is the easiest non-issue of any notch. It's a tiny notch, smaller than the iPhone's notch, on a huge screen.
Yeah.
15-inch screen. And it's holding two cameras right now, the standard 4K webcam and an ultra-wide 4K webcam. I really like these. These are really good quality webcams. The ultra-wide has this follow feature that works okay. It's not very responsive, but it works. So I like that it has an ultra-wide webcam. They're both too big to fit in these super thin bezels, so it's got a little tiny notch. I think it doesn't matter at all. Totally fine. I'm curious what you think looking at it.
My biggest issue, and it wouldn't be solved by putting the notch on the top in portrait mode, was just like at one point in one orientation when you're holding this, it's wrong. So like I kind of think back to the what was it? Was it the second Mi Mix Ultra that had the cutout camera in the bottom corner?
Oh yeah.
Like I almost wonder what this would look like if there's just a little black space in this corner to have an extra camera or the two cameras. And then when you're holding it in portrait, it's just like in a corner based on portrait and landscape.
I guess the only thing about a corner webcam is that no matter what orientation you're in, the webcam is off center and you're not really looking at it. So like if you're on a video call and it's like this is the best place for a camera for it to be up here.
Yeah.
But if I put it over to the side, like on the iPad, you're constantly looking over to the side of the webcam and it never really looks like you're looking at the camera. That's like kind of annoying. And I guess that's why I want the iPads to shift to this spot. A corner would just always be off. So I think that they did a good job.
I mean, that's like very, very nitpicky. I don't think it's that bad. One thing that I find really interesting with Samsung as a tablet and just Samsung phones in general, and it makes more sense to me on a tablet, is their DeX features. Like getting closer to this, where like this does feel pretty close to a laptop in all of this, and like how Chromebooks are so much more. I don't know what you're. Oh, you're trying.
I was trying to turn DeX on.
Okay. Like Chromebooks are becoming so much popular because we're realizing, as people, so many average users are just using for websites and emails and stuff and YouTube and whatever.
Yeah.
Like this probably is more powerful than a Chromebook. And if you can just dock it into a station, this feels it's Android, but a Chromebook is Chrome OS. So like both of them are kind of losing out.
So powerful, you mean software wise?
I mean software for what you're doing.
Yeah.
Like both of these, a Chromebook and this can handle web browsing, YouTube, emails, absolutely no problem.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, the base, I don't know, I'm thinking like, similar price range. If you got $1,000 Chromebook, you'd have more
fair.
You'd have more
$1,000
power.
Chromebook is ridiculous.
But you're still doing the same stuff. It's just a web browser, right?
True.
So, I'm using this tablet and it to me still feels like a big tablet. So like the Instagram experience isn't great. The SoundCloud app isn't really good. Like the columns in Gmail are pretty decent, but like my to-do list app doesn't take advantage of the space. Like it's not great,
Okay.
but it's fine. You get your windowed apps in DeX mode, which is cool. But yeah, I guess it does have a similar level of productivity to a Chromebook plus any extras that happen to work well with Android on a tablet.
Yeah, like if you're a journalist or a writer or something like that, and then this is really easy for you to lug around and take down some quick notes or draw some stuff up like in an Uber ride, and then when you go home and you're ready to really bang out an article and you need to like use your normal keyboard because typing a whole article on this keyboard would probably be pretty brutal, then you can plug in your mouse and keyboard and have a monitor that maybe is a little more oriented for correct posture, something like that, a little more ergonomically correct. And that seems kind of neat.
Yeah. I'm not an artist, but
You can scribble.
I can scribble for days.
I'm
really
also
good.
just like not a tablet person.
Oh, generally?
So it's like hard for me to really see who's fully taking control of this. But the more and more I look at tablets, the more and more I'm realizing they're at this part where there are people who don't do as many things on the computer and that probably could super benefit from this. And someone who travels, like, this would be awesome. That's the one time I consistently see myself being like, I wish I had a tablet, is watching movies like on the plane.
Yeah, that's a good question of like, I don't know if I should, maybe we can put some of this in the review, but what is the ideal workflow and like set of devices to have. Because I think there's a lot of people who have a really good computer and a decent phone, and that's all they need. A tablet in the middle wouldn't make sense. There's also a group of people who has a really good phone and like an okay computer, because the phone can do so much and it's got a big screen and it can do all kinds of tablet stuff that you don't really need a tablet there. And so there's a bunch of people who have like a phone they don't like as much, or a tablet or a computer they don't like as much. But if they got a tablet that they really liked, it could do kind of both in a way. It could have the app experience. You could do the email, social media, watching videos, but also you could put a keyboard on it and start answering emails in like a long form type of way and like really do some serious productivity stuff. But I don't think anybody needs a good phone, a good tablet, and a good computer. So there's always like a balancing act. Which one do you want?
I would say if this is your main thing, a computer is probably not something you're taking everywhere with you. And the person in that I would say that happens is someone who travels a lot and is still taking phone calls. So no matter how good their phone is, yes, you can multitask on a phone, but no one likes to really do that much work on their phone.
You don't like the triple window action on the Galaxy
No,
Note?
and I don't like hearing people like tapping on the phone when they're like obviously doing stuff. So like this then to me seems like that kind of person. I don't know if that's like a trader or something like that who's traveling a lot, or like, again, a journalist who might have to take notes in a rough place and is also calling people pretty often for interviews or something like that. If you are somebody that this feels like would be your main,
if you're in the target demographic,
I want to know. I kind of want to know the target demographic. Like we've heard people respond to us on why people do like the S Pen in phones, and there's been some really interesting that totally makes sense.
Yeah,
I would like to know how somebody would incorporate this into their everyday workflow or just everyday and not mobile gaming. I totally understand that mobile gaming on tablets is far more fun than on a phone, but I find it hard to buy $1,000
for like every single day.
If
all
like
you do
PUBG
is game.
Mobile.
Fair. No, I'm curious about that. Hey, thanks for watching that clip. We appreciate you guys as always. Let us know if you want us to do more music related content. I feel like, I don't know why, but I just get like a feeling like we should probably talk music a little bit more.
Do you get that feeling? Is that the feeling you had when you blew me up a year ago?
One more time.
Hopefully we'll get lucky and you'll press the subscribe button.
Hey.
I mean, like, and if you like these clips, maybe you can listen to the full episode while you're doing your homework.
And then you'll be able to write harder, better, faster, stronger than you were before.
Do you remember that old viral video with the girl who had like
written
all the words all over her hands?
That was one of the best videos of all time.
Yeah, and I think everyone should share this episode so we get as many views as that.